Okay, back again. Tonight, I'm talking about a subject that came to mind because I was watching a video by Hanson Davis, who is a academic, but he was raised and inherited the family farm, raised on and inherited, worked on it, etc. And I think may still run the farm, but I'm pretty sure he still lives in the same house, from former generations. But he was the video is about how this idea of a lack of ethnic diversity in our culture, uh, that's a big problem for us. And he talks about how when he was a kid, he obviously his family farm. There was an Armenian farmer, a guy from Armenia who lived on one side of him. There was Japanese fellow farmer who lived on the other side. And what in this video, and I'll show it down, let you see it down below. It's a very short video. He does these things like daily, but very level-headed guy. Uh, but the thing that really hit it home for me was when he talked about how uh, during World War II, when the government put Japanese Americans in holding camps, and of course there were a lot of those Japanese Americans out in California. Uh, that the fellow farmers from in that neighborhood, as you would call it, I guess you might think a neighborhood's very small, but in this farm area, that they went ahead and worked his farm and harvested his crops and sold them and kept the money for him for when he got out of the holding camp. Uh, this isn't the work of bigoted people, you know, and yet that is the propaganda we've had so uh, pushed down our throats for my entire life, really. Now, I'm not saying there's never been any prejudice, and I'm not saying that there is no prejudice today and will not be prejudice in the future, because humans, we tend to, especially if you're an angry human, you strike out at people or things. You find something to direct your anger toward, and being prejudiced is one of those easy things to do. When everybody who has red hair, you can be prejudiced against redheaded people, right? I mean, when there's a certain group, and you can just decide, I think I'll be prejudiced against redheads. It's just that simple, and you see it, and you see the expression of it. Typically, when people are acting out their anger, you'll hear them say angry things. People very seldom say something that might be bigoted uh, during my lifetime when they were just calmly being sweet, you know. Uh, so um, he got me thinking about that, and I started thinking about TV shows like the Andy Griffith Show and Leave It to Beaver and Knows Best. And even later on, a show like Little House on the Prairie, which, time frame was, the storyline was back in the late 1800s or whatnot, but the culture was in the 1970s and 80s, right? So these were very popular shows. They weren't comedy shows. There were funny things that happened in them, but the they were moralistic shows. Now, I think we pretend that these moralistic shows were things where the TV owner, the channel owners, the broadcast company owners, were trying to teach us morals, and this was the whole purpose of these moralistic things. And I'm not saying that when you went to school, uh, back when I was a little kid, you had all the way through college even, you had we didn't have video, we had film, right? You had on reels, right? We saw movies, different kind of movies, and often they were about teaching a lesson after all, and certainly they're teaching you lessons on good manners, etc. Okay, and if they're going to show someone in it, there's someone who has good manners, and then there's somebody who's a jerk, so that we can learn that the jerk is a jerk and the people with good manners people with good manners, whatever. So there is that dichotomy you see in all kind of things, even the popular stuff today. You see that dichotomy, but I think that we've sort of been it's been insinuated that that was the TV corporations trying to do what good citizens would do, and being good citizens, this TV corporations gave us programming that was moralistic on some different levels and taught us how to be good people, etc. Well, I think actually what's true, more true than we want to admit, is that these shows were popular not because we enjoyed getting taught morals by the TV corporation, which were in reality just reflecting culture, but because they did reflect culture. They reflected who we wanted to be. They reflected, for the most part, who we are. And I make my argument about this by saying, what do you watch and listen to right now? We are more divided than we have ever been as a nation, because everybody can go and listen to exactly and watch exactly what they want to. So if you like samba music, you are listening to samba music 24/7. If you like rap, you are listening to rap 24/7. There's no top 40. There's no mixture of things. There's not a rap, although actually rap is in everything these days, I realize, to a degree. But there's not a rap country channel, right? That 50% of the time it's rap and 50% it's country. No, that's not happening. If you're Do you like pornography? You can just sit here and watch pornography all day long on some channel. I'm sure. I don't watch it, but frankly, it's real easy to run across even on regular TV. But if you like violence, you like kickboxing, you can spend all day long watching kickboxing if you want to, right? That's what you're interested in, then that's what you're watching. And that's what people did 50 years ago. Those Neanderthals 50 years ago. They watched what represented their interest. They were interested in people acting the way the people acted on Leave It to Beaver. They liked Dick Van Dyke. Yes, he was funny, but he didn't represent seedy stuff or anything. I'm trying to say that the average person, we think, most of you people listening to me right now, I would venture to say you think that humanity is good. However, deep down we're all good. That's not a biblical concept. But most of us think that, there's obviously good in us. When something happens, when a hurricane happens, your neighbors come out, people help each other out. When a tornado happens, people come out. When the floods in North Carolina happens, people come out and help each other. There's good people. These good people, if you gave them good, decent TV program to watch, that's what they'd watch. But instead, we have to watch just junk. Disrespectful children. Everybody's disrespectful on TV. Everywhere, all the time. And it's been that way for years. I'm watching a ancient show right now on video, Ballykiss Angel, which is a British show. And, the kid's the son is sort of a smart aleck, just smart about everything. I mean, it's okay to joke around with your kids, but then there's a point where kids should not pass. And they don't learn that on TV. No way. So I think it's true across the board that Victor Hanson Davis, listen to him talk about what his life was back in the 50s and 60s. This terribly dark period of life for the United States. Right? I mean, that's what I think we've been taught in the last 20 years or so, for sure. Nobody realizes all the people who supported civil rights whenever that happened. It didn't have civil rights didn't happen by fiat. It didn't happen because four men up in Washington decided we were going to have civil rights. No, I mean I'm not saying that there weren't conflicts about it. Clearly, there were some people who were bigoted, who were, and probably more important, more likely, the reality than anything else is people who thought they were going to lose some amount of power or prestige that they had in life and didn't want to lose that. And it was nice to keep a certain group of people down while they could enjoy their prestige. That, I, that's my belief anyway. I think that's the real human thing. We can always find something to be prejudiced about. And so my point is people were not, no, I'm not saying it wasn't, because I'm from the South, and I'm not saying I didn't hear people say, and even when I was a kid, I said things that today I'd never say. You know, it was just the milieu. It was just what my area of redneck people that I lived around, were like. And but hey, you get on the playground, you play, you work together in the classroom. These, it's very, very no big conflict there. No, nobody said no. I ain't gonna work. The other day, and this was a big thing that happened the other day on Saturday Night Live when Tom Hanks acted like a bigot. So, something acted like somebody who, frankly, I have not seen anybody act that way in my life, at least not in the last 50 years of my life. Okay? Now, it might have happened when I was a kid. I don't remember, you know, an incident of it. But where somebody wouldn't shake the hand of another person, that's a lie. The reason people have didn't think that was funny is that it didn't represent reality. I mean, there's as I told my wife, there's plenty of people who, black comedians who make fun of blacks, and in fact, I saw not long ago, I saw what comedian making fun of blacks about what things that are part of black culture, and so he was able to lift them up, and the audience was just falling over. The black audience, the black people in the audience, they thought he was hilarious. Why? Because he was talking about things that were essentially true about them. But what Tom Hanks did on that TV, on that, and I didn't see the whole thing. I saw, it's since it's been on the news. I saw something about it, and I watched it. But what he did didn't represent anything about reality. It was just an attack. That's all it was. And he might think that might be his reality inside of his head, but it's not a reality for anybody hardly. And I know I don't care. Somebody like Al Sharpton, he's always trying to make something out of nothing. So there's always going to be somebody on TV who will get up and spit out bull, things that aren't really based in reality, but they want to. They're propagandists. That's what they are. And I have no patience for propagandists, people who are just totally unwilling to open their eyes and open their hearts to the whole of humanity, because that's why these people, they're not loving people. They have hate in their heart, and they just want to paint a picture of an ugly world. Whereas if you like Andy Griffith, or you like what was it? Moving on up, the Jeffersons. you know, there's plenty of good programming that shows the good in people, and not constantly pointing out that the bad person in town is always the Christian person, the person who's being a narrow-minded Christian. That's always the bad person. Okay, And the mean person is always misunderstood. Well, it may be true that we have narrow-minded people who think they're Christian, and it may be true that some mean persons are misunderstood. But I tell you what, I watch people on that TV say talking every day, politicians who as I told my wife tonight, that person and most of them I see are psychopaths. They're psychopaths. They stand there and they talk to your face and they tell you lies and they tell you what they're going to do, and then they never do anything that they say they're going to do. They tell you, I've got a project in my district that we need to spend money on, and then you get the money and the project never gets done. And this happens all over the United States all the time because these people are psychopaths. They only want power and they will lie to your face. They have no conscience. Okay, and they're the ones telling you that there's a pile of bigotry in the world. Well, they're not bigots because they're bigoted toward every human. They're psychopaths. Anyway, look at this about from Victor Hanson Davis, and see how he describes the lives of people who lived back in the Dark Ages when there was so much prejudice, people couldn't even hardly come out of their houses, obviously. It was so dangerous. And maybe you'll get a picture, if you're younger particularly, you'll get a picture of what reality is. And that there's a lot of love in the world. There's a lot of respect in the world, or at least there used to be. And we need to get back to that. We need to let go of this pretending like everybody's a bigot. And we need to start embracing each other and being neighbors. And that's what happens in my neighborhood. It's multi-ethnic. Anyway, what do you call it? Subscribe, like, uh, give me your comment, share it, let somebody else hear it. Be nice. And as I'll say most of the time, if you seek truth, you ask your Creator to give you truth. You don't care. It doesn't matter what the truth is. If you really want truth, it may make you do things that you don't want to do, and that might be why you don't want to know the truth. But if you ask the Creator for truth above all else, He'll give you truth, I believe, and you will be set free. Talk to you another time. Bye-bye.